Now don't be put off by the apparent complexity of the Tai Chi routine. Actually, all of the movements are based on a very small number of basic positions of the hands and feet. And once you've learned those, you can do the entire routine. Now our first basic position is something called the bow and arrow step, or bow step for short. Now this is a lunge position in which the front knee is bent, like the bow, and the back leg is fairly straight, like the arrow. The knee never gets completely locked out. In this position, 70% of the weight is forward over the front foot, and only 30% of the weight is over the back foot. Now in Yong Style Tai Chi, which is what we're learning, the front toe points forward towards your direction of travel, towards your target, and the back foot turns in about 45 degrees. And we can make the bow step in either direction, so if she turns around to make a new bow step, you always have to remember to do these two things. First of all, shift the weight forward 70%, bending the front knee, and adjusting the back foot forward. Now our second basic foot position is something called the T-step. Now the T-step is pretty much like standing on one foot while the other foot just touches the ground with the toe down. Now, I want to introduce you to a new Tai Chi term here. It's called the kwa. The kwa is the hip joint area, the inguinal joints in here. Now in this position with the hip open, we would say the kwa is open. Kwa is a Chinese term. With the hip joint closed, we would say the kwa is closed. Whenever you step up into a T-step, remember to open the kwa. One knee points out 90 degrees away from the other knee. And we can make the T-step with either foot also. So every time we do this, step down, shift the weight, open the kwa. The third basic foot position is called the empty step. Now the empty step is almost like the T-step. You're basically standing on one foot, but this time the empty foot, the foot with no weight, is out in front of the supporting leg. And if you measured that, that would be about shoulder width. Now notice in this position that both knees are bent and the toe of the empty foot turns in just slightly towards the middle of the body. Now we call it an empty step because the front foot has no weight on it. It's literally empty. So you should be able to pick it up off the ground without having to shift the weight first. Our fourth and last basic foot position is something called the crouch step or drop step. We'll get to this position much later on in the routine. Now the crouch step is very much like the bow step because it starts out with one knee bent and one leg fairly straight. Now in the bow step, you're looking forward over your front knee, the bent knee. But in the crouch step, you're looking behind you. Now, notice that one knee is still bent, one leg is still fairly straight, but still bent a little bit, and you're looking out over the bent leg. Now, later on when we get to this position in the routine, we'll talk about how much you should sink down. It's just sinking down a little bit, but it's like sitting on a chair just on one cheek. Now, our last basic position is a position of the hands, not the feet. Now, traditionally, we call this position embracing the moon, although we usually just refer to it as holding the ball. It's just like holding a big beach ball against your chest, with the top arm coming right over the top of the ball, right across the chest, and the bottom arm coming underneath the ball, right across the hips. Notice that the top elbow is relaxed down, and so is the top wrist, just like you're curving over that ball, and the bottom wrist is cupped upward. Now we can make the hold the ball position with either hand on top, and each time you change, you're making that circular shape in the air. Now what we want to do is combine all those basic positions, the bow step, the T-step, the empty step, we'll save the crouch step for later, and the basic hold the ball position into a simple stepping drill that you can use to practice your basics. Now CJ is going to help me out here as I talk her through it. We begin with the weight on the right foot, right hand on top holding the ball. The left foot steps out, landing heel first, and then slowly shift forward into a bow step. Remember, 70% of the weight forward. Change your hold the ball. Now bring the right foot up into a T-step, and then forward again into an empty step, and then forward again, landing heel first, and shift forward into a new bow step. Change your hold the ball. Step up T-step, and empty step. Now pause here for a second and check yourself. Are you really empty of weight? Can you lift the front foot up? Good. Now again, step forward with the heel first, and bow step, and on and on. You can practice this as many steps as you like.